Well, welcome back, everybody, to Two Pastors and a Mic. My name is Shannick.
And I'm Corey.
And we're so thankful to have you joining us wherever you're listening from or watching from. We do appreciate you joining us. Also, those of you joining us on GAN, thank you for being a part of what we're doing. We're thankful for that. Matter of fact, last week, GAN recorded or released our first article. That was really cool to see and be a part of as well.
GAN.TV. If you want to read it, you should go
Grace
check it out.
Awakening Network.
Yep. GAN.TV. Cool things that we're a part of. And honestly, it's really because of you, the viewer, because today is a special day.
Or the listener.
Yep. What did I say?
The viewer.
The viewer or listener. This podcast is what it is because you all are so faithful in listening and sharing it. The amount of people that are listening to this all over the world, this podcast is we're about to have an interview with our good friends over from the Netherlands and a new friend, Mr. David DeVos. That's coming out at the end of January. We might even include it as a podcast episode because it was so rich and so fun. A lot of exciting things happening. So if you're joining us because of that, welcome.
Yeah.
This is an exciting day for us, though.
I will say that all of our listeners that have been with us, we are so thankful for you. Matter of fact, today is a milestone kind of day.
We kind of gave it away with the heading, but it is our 4-year anniversary. At least, this came out on January 15th. We were recording this on January 13th, which is the 4-year anniversary of when we started this podcast. The first episode came out January 13th, 2021. And here we are 4 years later, starting year 5 of the podcast. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I think later on we'll get into a little bit of why we're still doing it, why it's been a success. We intentionally keep our podcast on the shorter side. There's a lot of people that have podcasts an hour, 2 hours
Joe
long.
Rogan, 3 hours.
Some of them they release, an hour, 2 hours, but they release, once a month or once a quarter or very inconsistently. But we've said, we're just going to get on here, do something consistent and have these 20 to 30 minute segments, dropping some wisdom, some nuggets, just some things to chew on and think about, whether you're driving or working or wherever you're listening.
Yeah. So we appreciate it. And this is kind of this whole year, I have a goal of releasing ebooks. Some of you might really find some of the topics interesting, other topics not so much. If you haven't already gotten my free ebook, you can go to saintsnotsinners.com and download that for free. It's How to Find Success Without Climbing the Ladder. I think I got my own title right. But also,
don't ask me to do it. I'll get it wrong.
It should be live right now. Now, our publisher put it in on Monday, so it might have gone live Monday, might have gone live Tuesday, but it might be live right now. My neighbor, Josh McCain, good friend of mine, he and I released a children's book. It is officially out there, The Illusionist. If you have kids between the ages 5, 6, well, probably not 5, but 6 and 7 to ages 12, you need to go get this children's book. It's a fantasy adventure, a lot of fun. It's a legacy piece for our own kids. Scarlett, Henry, Silas, and Ada are the main characters, and it's got great principles for your kids around kindness, around love. And I didn't ever think I was going to write a children's book. It might be one of my favorite things I've ever been a part of.
I hope it blows up. I actually can't wait to read it and just see and experience it through not only your and Josh's writing style, but seeing your kids involved. And of course, I'll give it to my boys to have them read it as well.
Yeah. So big shout out to you, Josh. Appreciate you. I think it was your idea actually to come up with this piece. So go get it. You can find it on Amazon. Support your boys. And we're celebrating because that's what we're doing today. Yep. Hey, since it is our 4-year anniversary as we start year 5 of this, we wanted to give you guys 4 things worth celebrating. So real practical episode, kind of a celebratory episode for you and I, but we want to give you 4 things worth celebrating. You can kind of evaluate this within your own life. And as we talk about these things, maybe it puts some things in motion for you to start celebrating in your own life.
Yeah, celebration is one of the things that we continually bring up on this podcast because for me anyway, I know I'm awful at taking the time to celebrate.
Yeah.
Celebrating the win, celebrating some things I've accomplished, what I've been able to be a part of. I am so driven and so focused on accomplishment. Same. Whenever I do accomplish something, my mind immediately goes to, okay, what's next? And I know it's something that, of course, we talk about a lot, how you've reminded me, what are you going to do to celebrate? You just
Mm-hmm.
slow down, pause, actually be grateful for what you've been able to do. And so celebration is one of those things we'll
Yeah.
talk about a lot. And that's what we want to talk about today,
Yep.
specifically 4 things worth celebrating.
And before we get into number one, we kind of end every year reminding ourselves of celebrating each other, talking about our wins, talking about things that we accomplished. We also did an episode 42, titled The Art of Celebration, where, again, I think that's 3 or 4 years ago, that we were really challenged around this idea of being someone who celebrates more. And so I think we're walking testimonies of when you are focused on this, aware of this, and start practicing it, you can become a better person at celebrating not only yourself, but then others. Because when you celebrate yourself, you're able to focus more on others. And so this is why we wanted to spend a whole episode on this. Again, it is a 4-year anniversary. A lot of people in the podcast world give up after a while because it is hard to stay consistent with this. And so we just wanted to give you these 4. You want to do number 1? You do odds and I do evens, or how do you want to do it?
Yeah, well, we can do that and then just chime in on each of them. But I'll start. The first thing worth celebrating are the people that are in your life
Yeah.
and on the journey with you. And over the last few weeks, maybe you as well have seen this on socials, Facebook, Instagram, but there was a quote that someone put out. I think, of course, everyone takes every quote or every situation and makes a meme out of it. So I've seen this meme 2 or 3 times, but it's the idea of we hear about the journey a lot. And I know a lot of people talk about how life isn't about some destination, but it's about the journey. And I believe it was, I'm going to say Matthew McConaughey had this like little video clip, and I could be wrong.
All right.
Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was someone else.
I like it. Let's go with him.
Yeah, we'll just go with that. I'm making that up. But anyway, he was talking about how a person went to this wise person to ask for advice, and the question was, what's more important? Is it about the journey, or is life about the destination? And the wise person thought for a second, and he said, neither. It's about the company. And that just really struck me, because I'm someone who tries to get people to focus on the journey, not some destination. But the most important thing about our journey in life are the people that we journey with.
Yeah.
And
Dude,
as
that's
I've
fire.
looked at my life over the last few years, few decades, and I see the people that God has connected me with, we are so driven to think about our accomplishments and what we do in our culture. And we think that that is success, being able to accomplish something. But what I've found is sometimes success is maintaining the relationships that you do the accomplishments with.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we're so quick to dismiss people or move on to the BBD. You know, the BBD?
I mean, I know a lot of different
Bigger,
BB.
better deal.
Thank God that's what you said.
Oh my
Bigger,
God,
better deal.
Corey. Get your mind out of the gutter.
That wasn't in the gutter. It was just there was a lot of things.
Bigger, better deal. And some people get to a mindset of certain people they feel like can do certain things for them in the season. And then once they reach where they're going, then they just leave the people behind and move on to new relationships, new things. Or this person over here might, help me better reach a goal in business or this or that. And so we leave people behind so easily now in our society. And maintaining those relationships, to me, and the people around us, are worth celebrating.
You're worth celebrating. You're one of those people for me, just so you know. I celebrate you. I'm thankful for you, because regardless of whatever success and how I've defined it, which again, that's my ebook on, a lot of it is because of our friendship, and where I'm at and why I stay here is because the friendships are more important to me than whatever it is that I think is success. So that's a great perspective. Speaking of Matthew McConaughey, have you heard about his tuna sandwich?
No.
How to make the perfect tuna sandwich?
No.
You need to go look this up afterwards. Apparently it's the viral thing and everyone's making it and they're like, my goodness, I'll never make a tuna sandwich different again.
I will go look it up.
All right.
I think I want to
I like that.
share something that I didn't plan on sharing, but it just came to me. And I think it'd be good to let our audience in on my process and how this really plays out in my life, specifically with the staff and our team here at Hill City. Speaking of celebrating the people that you journey with. So for us, What we do at Hill City in maintaining legacy, building legacy with this place, sometimes it can be a lot. And there's a lot of people now. We're growing, a lot of programs, a big campus, just a lot to maintain. And for whatever reason, the last year or so, I've been thinking about what would life look like without this place specifically, like our facilities, our building, the upkeep, the expense, and all of it. And I've been thinking, sometimes going a little bit negative, like what would happen? Sorry, what would happen if the finances weren't there to continue doing ministry the way we do ministry? And I think I told you, and I think I told our staff this as well in meetings, that even if we had to start over, whatever it would look like with zero finances, like if we had just our staff still connecting, still serving, still coming together, we could do church, be the church. And I think I would be completely fine to do that, because I know our staff would stay together, and it's about the people we do life with.
Yeah.
Is that okay if I share that? Like I feel
no,
like
it's not. We're going to edit it out. Of course it's okay. No, I appreciate you sharing that, because
you just looked at me weird. That's why I asked that.
well, no, I'm grateful for the people we do life with. I really am. Like I'm in the ebook I write, I talk about you have to find and keep the right relationships. And the right relationships are with people who celebrate who you are, not what you do. And I remember as a former athlete, people used to, some of our mentors in college used to always say, look around the locker room and see who's there when you're losing. Those are the people you want in your corner, so to speak. And so we do talk a lot about relationships, and maybe you can pause this episode right now and text somebody that you're grateful for, and maybe have words of affirmation be a regular part of your life, where when you think of somebody, you text them, let them know you're thinking about them, believing in them, proud of them, even if they haven't done what they've wanted to do. So I love that. Yeah, 4 things we're celebrating. Number 1, people. The second one, this is consistency. And consistency is so much more important than intensity, than the excitement and the highs of accomplishment and achievements. And we talk about this, or I hear a lot about this in the workout world. Like, it doesn't matter how intense you are trying to achieve your goals. What matters the most is that you're just consistent. And you can even see that even in this podcast. I think this podcast has, like you said earlier, has been so successful because we've been consistent to release episodes every Wednesday, even though there's been weeks that we were like, dang it, we got to do this. There's something about consistency, remembering to be faithful or remaining faithful to something is worth celebrating. Some of your marriages, that's why we celebrate anniversaries. It's something, maybe celebration should be more part of your marriage. Like, look at how far you've journeyed with certain people, and look at how accomplished you are in your personal life, within your marriage, within your parenting, within your life. It's worth it. And I know, again, going back to that ebook, one of the opening statements I say is true success is less about material or numerical value and so much more about consistency and faithfulness. And so maybe you have a lot more to celebrate in your life than you think.
Well, that was what I was alluding to when I talked about this podcast, and how we've just remained consistent with it, remained faithful to it, even though there were many weeks where I didn't want to come in and record. But that consistency is worth celebrating. And now we're kind of reaping some of the benefit of staying consistent with it. And I would always say, I used to really get enamored by people with, let's say, the faith to start something. Because I see that maybe it's needed or it's valuable, or they sacrifice to get something going. Imagine or picture someone even starting their own business. There's a lot of sacrifice. Sometimes people take out second mortgages on their home and readjust their lifestyle and take their kids out of private school, put them in public school. Like, they might go through this big process to start something because they have faith for it and they believe in it. And that used to like really, really inspire me. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot. But the longer that I've remained in ministry, remained where I'm at, remained faithful to what I've been doing, and consistent with it, I think I now have that on a little bit of a lower pedestal. And people that have the faith to say finish something after 10, 20, 30 years of working on it, that inspires me even more. And I'll just throw out like the Reinitiative, announcing it, buying our first property, buying the second property. That first 6 months to a year, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was exciting.
And getting a lot of people on board and just seeing how God was working and orchestrating everything together. It was exciting. It's still exciting. And we're still in kind of the beginning phase of it. But I can also see it's still a lot of work. And we talked about this, I can't remember what podcast, but we talked about just this idea of maintenance, how sometimes maintenance is just a menial,
It's
boring
not sexy.
task, but it needs done.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the season we're in now with that. Now,
Yeah.
a year and a half into the Reinitiative, there's a lot of things that we're just maintaining, still building out, still trying to figure out, still trying to get vision for, but still being faithful to it. And it's a lot. It is. And so just remaining consistent to it, though, I think it's worth celebrating.
Consistency is a big thing. Actually, someone just reached out because they're trying to start a podcast. And my advice, if you want to start a podcast, I'm always going to be somebody who wants to champion you doing what you feel like you should do. I love that. But my first warning is always, do not start a podcast unless you're going to be consistent with it. Or if you're not going to be consistent with it, have a plan. Like, hey, I'm only doing this for 10 episodes and here's why. Don't just do a podcast just to do it, because again, consistency matters. And I would apply that in almost every area of your life, even marriage. Don't get married unless you're going to be consistent in dating your spouse. Otherwise, your marriage is going to fall apart in 5, 10, 15 years. And we see this play over, especially even in the church, unfortunately, over and over and over again. So,
all right. So number 3, the 4 things we're celebrating: people, consistency, and the third one is yourself.
come on, somebody. Toot your own horn. Toot, toot. Come on.
Celebrate yourself.
Yeah.
And I think I shared this as well. A lot of the things that we say, I should just
probably
stop
have.
saying that, because we've shared almost everything that we know, and we're just going to keep reiterating
Maybe.
that. Like there'll be some new stories along the way and things like that.
There's going to be
But-
some things
But
coming
yes,
up
I've
this
shared
year.
this before where I believe it was last year, and I got up on stage. It was Mind the Fields.
Yeah, dude, one of your best
that
sermons ever.
Sermon and message. And I got up in the beginning, and I was thinking about how little I preached that year, and I was more involved in the and everything else that year. And I was thinking, man, I don't preach that often. And I got to a place where I was like, oh man. And I know something you said, you're not the typical lead pastor. So sometimes I hear that and I think negative instead
Yeah,
of
I'm saying
positive,
that
which I want it
positively.
to be positive.
Yeah.
And so I shifted my mindset about a year and a half ago in that. And I was thinking, wait, I've had the ability to delegate, to pass off different assignments, to build a team. Like I built the preaching team, I built the consistency, I've built the system and kind of what we're doing now, not on my own, but together. And I've led all through that, where now I'm reaping the benefit of being able to be involved in some other things. And I just got to the point, I even told our church this. I realized I'm amazing.
Yeah.
Like, and I just sat there and
I remember you
celebrated
doing it.
myself a little bit, and people celebrated me
Yeah.
celebrating myself. So
Yeah.
that felt really,
it's
really good.
it's not prideful to say that. This is I want to kill this thought, because this is what I'm very passionate about. It's why I wrote an entire devotion, a 21-day devotion on this. If you haven't got it, what are you doing? We did 10 episodes on it. What if I told you? It is so important for you to align how you view yourself with how the Father views you. And the Father looks at you and doesn't see a dirty, rotten human being. He sees his beloved. He sees somebody who's amazing, and he wants you to believe it about yourself. It will not produce pride, because when you know that you're amazing, guess what happens? You walk into a room, and instead of trying out of insecurity to get other people to like you, you already know who you are. You've been affirmed by the Father. You believe it to be true. You walk in that. Guess what you're then doing? You're not looking to yourself. You're looking at other people, seeing them with spiritual eyes, saying, how can I be an encourager? How can I lift other people up? And that's what happens when you start getting the right views of who you are. When you start celebrating yourself, you will actually become a bigger and better celebrator of other people, because you've started celebrating yourself. You are worth celebrating. It's dang time. Maybe you do need to pause this and just do a little, I'll be honest, you shared a vulnerable story. I was, in my counseling sessions, I ask one question that has shocked me. Over 100 people I've asked this question in our group therapies and individual counseling. And I stopped. I'm no longer shocked by this, But I was shocked the first 50 people that this was the hardest question for people to answer. The hardest question in their homework when they're going through an emotional journey with me is to answer the question, how do you celebrate you? That's the hardest question. You're probably thinking, wow, how do I celebrate you? And the way that I've processed with people and how certain people celebrate themselves, I love it. But I remember I was in a counseling session like 6 months ago. I'd been doing this for 2 years, asking people this question. And I asked this dude this question. He left. And I remember the Spirit saying, so Corey, how do you answer that question? And I was like, dang it. I've been avoiding answering the question and celebrating myself by helping other people do that for themselves. And so I started doing this thing where I out loud, looking at myself in the mirror, saying these simple words, I am proud of me. And over the last 6 months, I've began to believe it. And I no longer need to look at myself in the mirror to say it. I will utter out loud on a regular basis, I'm proud of me, especially as I do certain to-do lists and get things checked out in the achievement column. I am celebrating myself. And the more and more I've done that, the more and more I've been able to walk into rooms and celebrate other people. And so, yeah, it's worth celebrating. You are worth celebrating.
Love it. What's the fourth thing?
The fourth thing is worth celebrating is the present. And by the present, we mean time. Like this has been our motto for the last 5 years is be where your feet are. Be means a lot to me personally, but I know you were sharing with me when we were creating this, you were sharing a thought around David. Are you going to share that here?
Yeah, I can.
Just because we don't know how much time we have left. It's one of those things that it's easy to reflect on. It's easy to talk about. But when you think about the reality of this, we don't know how much time we have left. And it's not to provoke fear, but it is to really challenge us to live in each moment and giving your best in the moment. I've removed this word, a balance. I'm no longer trying to balance my life because I think balance is the wrong word and it doesn't do justice what we should be doing. Like I'm not trying to balance my work life with my home life. I think the better way, and I learned this in music theory, is learning to ride the rhythm. Like if you play the bridge of a song during the intro, it's going to throw the whole band out of rhythm. But when you start to find the rhythm of life and are present to the moment, then when I am home, I can give all of myself to my family. And when I'm at work, I can give all of myself to work. And so I'm no longer trying to balance the two. I'm trying to ride the rhythm of both, knowing that there's going to be seasons where I need to give more of myself to work than to my family. Just like there's going to be seasons where I need to give more to my family than my work. And this is for you to decide to learn how to ride the rhythm. But that language has really helped me take off this pressure of, because I used to find myself thinking about work all the time while I'm home with my family and then thinking about my family while I'm at work, trying to get stuff done. And it's like, it wasn't serving me well. And so I just removed this balance term. And now I just ride the rhythm, knowing that there's going to be certain seasons where the sacrifice is required, but it's really helped me be where my feet are.
Yeah, love that. And with me personally, the Spirit speaks to me in all kinds of different ways, not just through the word, but through my thoughts, even through different videos that might come up or reels or memes like I've already shared with Matthew McConaughey. But there was this reel that I also recently watched, and I believe it's kind of gone viral. One of the guys that does street interviews started asking this question. And so I've seen it now a dozen times with different people. But he says, if I were to have the money right now on me and I had $10 million, if I passed it to you, would you accept $10 million?
Heck yeah, give me that money.
And he kind of plays it up a little bit. Okay, so I have this briefcase of cash. It's $10 million. You would take it?
Yeah.
If I just offered it to you?
Heck yeah. Who wouldn't?
And he says, okay, now you would take it, but I forgot to tell you there's one stipulation. You wouldn't wake up tomorrow. And the people are like, oh,
Yeah, no
hell
way.
no.
No
No,
way.
I ain't going to take it.
No way.
No one has said they'll take it and do
Interesting.
something with it.
Hmm.
And so he said, okay, so you're telling me waking up tomorrow morning is worth $10 million. So why don't you go live the day like it's worth that?
Look at that perspective.
So it's just one of those silly things that
Not
teach
that-
us like
Not
to
that silly. It's a good perspective.
just to be mindful of the present and be appreciative for the fact that we have time, that we're alive, we have breath.
Yeah.
And waking up with that mindset. And it might sound cliche. It might sound, I don't know, come up with
Corny,
some kind of word.
cringy,
Corny, that's what I was
cheesy.
looking for. Sure. But even like David, as he's writing scripture, he says, teach me to number my days, meaning the days that I have left, I want to be able to utilize them effectively. But how I start that process is to be appreciative for the days that I have. And I just think that's something worth celebrating.
It is. Man, that's a good perspective. You might think it's corny, but at least it gets your wheels thinking. So 4 things we're celebrating: people, consistency, yourself, and the present. Seriously, what can you be thinking, or who can you be appreciating right now in this moment? I am appreciative of you, all of you who watch and listen. Seriously, thank you. If you love these episodes, do us a favor and share them. The more people that listen, the better. Make sure you go to Amazon right now and go buy the children's book. Buy a bunch for all your nieces and nephews. Buy them for every kid that you know. Holla at your boy. Go download the free ebook. This is the year of what material. What's the word I'm looking for? Content. We are throwing so much content and resources available for you. Most of it is free. Your book is coming along great. I know you want me to stop saying it, but I'm not going to stop saying it because I'm celebrating you. I'm so proud of you for writing your book. Y'all, it is so good how this guy writes and invites you vulnerably and authentically into his story. I know your book is going to, Wayne asked me, is his book better than anything you've ever written? I said, 1, yes. And 2, it's just so different because the way that you, I get to know you behind the scenes like most people don't. Would you agree? Like I'm probably 100%. One of 5 people that know you better than anybody on the planet. Mm-hmm. And I wish people got to know you the way that I got to know you because you're better than you even present yourself. And I think that people are going to be shocked by not only the pressure that you reveal that you've been holding on to and how you've let go of some of that pressure. I think they're going to be shocked about your journey and the things that you've had to process and overcome. And I think it's going to be so freeing for people and motivating for people. It is amazing. So I'm excited for it to come out. And yeah, that's my little plugs.
Yeah. Well, you are keeping me accountable. Keep mentioning it.
Do the dang thing. We love you so much. Seriously.
Yeah, we do. So thank you for being on this journey with us 4 full years, 4-year anniversary. Thank you for celebrating with us.
I was in a session with somebody. This is totally inappropriate, but I was in a session with somebody, and that's how they celebrate themselves. They literally do a toot toot. And if they're listening right now, you can text me. Can I get a beep? Oh my gosh. What is that? R. Kelly? I don't think you can mention him anymore. We get canceled.
I know, right? Well, thank you for celebrating with us today, and we hope you continue with us on our journey. And until next week, just know you're loved, and there's nothing you can do about it.